What's going on YouTube? It's Tej back again with another video, and today we're closing out our 2021 NFL season preview series. It's been a long ride, and today we talk about the Vikings to close it out. Hopefully you all have enjoyed the series, and hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want more football content, the regular season is finally upon us. Hit the subscribe button and more videos will come your way. And comment your takes on the Minnesota Vikings down in the comments section. How many wins do you think they get? Who are some X factors? What are some games you're looking forward to watching them play? Love to have your thoughts. I respond to every comment. So let's talk about the Vikings down below. Win range 9 to 12 wins. I think this is a much improved football team, especially on the defensive side. And that starts with Mike Zimmer. I don't foresee him letting that defense be bad 2 years in a row. He's just too good of a defensive mind still. They have put in a ton of resources in the secondary, right? You signed Rashad Breeland, you signed Patrick Peterson, Xavier Woods, second year for Cam Dantzler, you bring back Mackenzie Alexander. They are stockpiled with average to above average talent to go along with Harrison Smith, of course, who's a stud in the secondary. And all that, I think, puts them in a position where that core, that unit, will be pretty good. And then you have Michael Pierce coming back. You sign Dalvin Tomlinson. They're going to stop the run, and then that is further aided by a healthy Anthony Barr, hopefully, and Eric Kendrick still playing at a high level. Those four guys are going to make sure that the run is shut down. So really the X factor is pass rush, right? I think Dalvin Tomlinson has a little bit more pass rush upside. He's a young player. He's still refining that skill compared to that of someone like Michael Pierce. Also, they signed Sheldon Richardson, so a proven pass rushing DT, one of the few and far between that are in the league. Those two on the interior, I think that's pretty solid. And then Everson Griffin, hopefully back at 100%. He's at the point where he's reaching that prime age window where he could put up some freaky numbers. He's a decent defensive player of the year bet in my eyes. And on the other side, we'll talk about DJ Wonnum, whoever it is, Patrick Jones, Janarius Robinson, whoever ends up being that other starting defensive end after they cut Everson Griffin, they have to step up and try to bolster that pass rush. Because if this team gets an above average pass rush, I think a solid secondary, well coached, that defense is going to be enough to complement what will be a really good year for the offense. So I have them going 11-6 this upcoming year. And if you saw my early season predictions going team by team, there were definitely some games that are a little questionable. I'll talk about one later, week 12 against the 49ers. So maybe, 11's a little high. That's why, minimum I think this team goes 9-8. But I think this team is in a position to go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the NFC, especially like a team like Seattle, the Cowboys, the 49ers, and even Green Bay, right? They took a game from the Packers last year in Lambeau, and that was done so by feeding Dalvin Cook, letting him go crazy, and just not letting Aaron Rodgers have the ball that much in that game. And it could be a similar game script when these two teams play again this year. Of course, Packers-Vikings must-see TV right there. Realistic goal, make the playoffs. I have them making it, so obviously that's a pretty good place to start. And reach goal, win the NFC North. I mean, there's so many divisions across the league where it feels like we already know who is going to win that division, right? Like the AFC East feels like it's the Bills to lose, right? The NFC South belongs to the Bucs. The AFC West is the Chiefs division, and then there's some other good teams in the mix. And the NFC North is sort of one of those divisions where you look at it and you're like, yeah, the Packers are the best team there. And I would totally agree. So that's where I'm saying if the Vikings were to unseed Green Bay, maybe get to 13 wins, the Packers are at 12-5, that would be a huge statement of progression for where this team has come over the past, 3-4 years, playing little brother to Aaron Rodgers to then take the division crown and get home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs, and depending on your seeding, maybe even further than that. I mean, that'd be a huge plus for this team, playing in the dome and, playing in front of their home crowd. That'd be a huge plus. So reach goal, win the division, not necessarily likely, but not necessarily impossible either. So I'd like to see them have their sights aimed there. X factors to try to make this possible, and I had to put this disclaimer in, it's the last video, but these X factors were not superstars. Like, we know Dalvin Cook is a stud. I had some people frustrated on some of the past videos. Why didn't you talk about our best player? Well, because we know they're good. X factors are the difference between hitting your goals and not. So Rashad Hill, as of right now, listed as the starting left tackle on the Vikings website on their depth chart. That is still surprising to me. After the draft, it seemed like Christian Darrisaw was a lot lower on teams boards compared to where people like myself and other draft quote-unquote experts had him. Almost everybody felt like he was a top 15 to 20 player in the class, but the reason the Vikings were able to trade down and still get him is because the NFL themselves were low on Darrisaw. And I think that trend continues now. The fact he's not starting over Rashad Hill. I mean, that's kind of concerning for where Darisaw might be at, but he also plays a position that takes some time, and Darisaw is a little raw in that sense. But Rashad Hill's got to be good. Like, if you're going to start over a first-round tackle, you have to be good in that right. But also, this offense can be explosive as it gets, but Kirk Cousins is not necessarily super mobile. And you need that blindside protector to keep him upright and allow him to have time to hit Justin Jefferson down the field. Let a route develop so Adam Thielen can make a dude look like a fool. And you bring in Chris Herndon. Maybe he should have been one of these X factors. You need to let him be able to get open on those posts and corners that they were maybe trying to use with Irv Smith Jr. Try to take advantage of that athletic build. But it all starts with Rashad Hill. And if he can be good, I think they've done enough across the rest of the offensive line to at least be not a joke. I'm still not sold on this unit, especially considering Darisaw and Wyatt Davis are not starting. Maybe those guys take over spots down the line and they give this team a big bolster in this area. But if this unit can just be okay, that's all it takes with the playmakers they have, and Kirk Cousins is a pretty solid quarterback, they'll pour on points. And of course, that's with Dalvin Cook in the mix, in my opinion, the second best running back in the NFL right now. So with all that said, Hill's got to be solid. And then transitioning to the defense, DJ Wonnum, talked about him a little bit earlier. If he's your starting defensive end opposite of Everson Griffin, and he had some flashes last year. I know a lot of Vikings fans are happy about what he could become, and they're optimistic with what his potential is. Now it's time. Like, we got to take this potential and turn it into results. He has got to be someone who at least 6 to 8 sack type of guy. Consistent hurries. He's got to be able to play good football opposite of Danielle Hunter, especially when you consider, big picture here, Danielle Hunter might not want to be back with Minnesota after this upcoming season. There was obviously a little bit of an awkward situation between the two this past offseason, and rumors of him requesting a trade, not going to show up to training camp. He ends up showing up, and he's going to play this year in Minnesota, but this might be the last year he's wearing the purple and gold. So then Wonnum has even more importance long-term for this team. So need good play from him this year to prove that he could be a starter and help this team go far, but also long-term, Wonnum could potentially become the guy this defense keys in on as, hey, we know we got at least one starting defensive end, we just got to find the other. So Wonnum, of course, big X factor there. And Patrick Peterson, can we see an, ironically enough, Xavier Rhodes type of renaissance that we saw last year when Rhodes went to Indianapolis after leaving Minnesota? I think how much of a different defense this is helps Peterson. Right, in Arizona, it's pretty much man press, and Peterson's still an athletic guy, but he's not what he was when he came out of LSU, where he was running the 4.3s, and that 6'1" frame just made him impossible to beat over the top because he was fast, he was long, and he was just a good coverage corner. He's still a good athlete, but he's lost a step for sure. And now he's playing in a defense that is so diverse in their coverage play calling. Mike Zimmer, the Vikings, like one of 2 teams, I'm paraphrasing sort of here, don't hold me to these quotes and these numbers, but one of 2 teams last year with no certain type of defense, whether it's cover 2, 3, 4, man-to-man, whatever, use more than like 25 or maybe 30% of the time. They use a little bit of everything. And I think specifically the zone usage for Patrick Peterson fits him a little bit better with where he's at in his career, and that's part of, I think, what helped make Xavier Rhodes better, pretty much just being a cover 2, cover the flat, exclusive corner, and when he got to make big plays. I think something like that, a little bit of a scheme change, will help boost up the value and potential play you get out of Patrick Peterson. But, even if it's not Patrick Peterson, Brashad Breeland, I think, is a quality enough NFL starter. He was fine with the Chiefs last year. And then you have Cameron Dantzler, who was good last year as a rookie, one of the few rookie corners that was, better than advertised. And you also have Mackenzie Alexander, who you could play in the nickel. So I think there's options if Peterson doesn't end up working out, which is obviously good. That's what this team tried to do this offseason, put themselves in a position where they are deep and they have a lot of different people who can rotate in. But if Peterson can be at the high end of his variance of play now, I'm not even saying he's to get back to where he was, 6-7 years ago. If he's just the best of himself right now and he can be good taking away a third, or he can be sound in his quarters, or give you some good cover 2 near the line of scrimmage playmaking ability, then this defense can get really scary if they get the boost from Wonnum and Peterson can take that step forward based off of his play last year. Games to watch, we will finish this video out. Week 3 against Seattle. Well, actually, I'll say this for all of them. Seattle, the Cowboys, 49ers, all 3 teams I don't have winning their division in my early season predictions. Maybe you see that differently. That's fine. Nonetheless, all 3 of these teams in the playoff hunt. So it makes sense that these are games to watch for Minnesota, because if they beat the Seahawks, that's a leg up and a big potential tiebreaker for the Vikings getting in or better seeding over Seattle, and the same could be said about Dallas and the 49ers. When you talk about the Seahawks and the Cowboys games, this is a test to see how good that secondary is going to be, right? Seattle's going to air it out, and so is Dallas. How does Patrick Peterson play in that game? How does Brashad Breeland look? Dantzler, Alexander, everybody. Can they slow down those passing attacks? Because if they do, I feel pretty good about the Vikings being able to win those games. Both those games also at home, which certainly helps. And both those teams have pretty weak secondary, specifically cornerback groups. Like, as much as I like Trevon Diggs, he's a second-year corner, and he had some ups and downs last year. And Kelvin Joseph's a rookie for Dallas as well, and Seattle just traded Ahkello Witherspoon. They get Sidney Jones. DJ Reed has some upside, but the cornerback group is not great. So those are two games where Kirk Cousins could go crazy for like fantasy. Justin Jefferson could be making big plays every time he's on the field. Adam Thielen could have a couple scores for sure. All that to say, there's a lot of intrigue between those two games to test the potential weaknesses for the Vikings, but it also could be games where you really see the strengths of this team shine very bright. Week 12, this is actually one of those weird games I have in my season predictions. It's definitely an upset pick because on paper, I would tell you the 49ers are the better team, and that game's in San Francisco. It feels like a no-brainer. Sure, the Niners got it, but I think that's a game where the Vikings, having Pierce back and signing Dalvin Tomlinson, Minnesota's going to take the run away. And given how creative and good of a play caller and how much he can move his defense around, I think Mike Zimmer, whether he's facing Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, is going to have his defense ready to be in position to create some turnovers and force either one of those QBs to make some silly mistakes in this game. So you take away the run, create some turnovers, and then same thing I said about Seattle and Dallas. San Francisco cornerback group is not the strength of that team. So we can easily turn into a game where if they're able to hold off that San Francisco pass rush, like hold Nick Bosa at bay, which is easier said than done for sure, especially when Rashad Hill's your left tackle. But if they're able to do that, they could pick apart that secondary big time with Jefferson, Thielen, Herndon, whoever they want it to be. So because of that, that's my upset pick for this team. I really do like Minnesota on the road there week 12. If I'm wrong, go ahead, let me hear it. It's an upset pick, so I'm not too worried about it. But if I'm right, bragging rights, I am holding this one over everybody's head. So tell me what you think about that pick down below. But that's going to do it for my 2021 Minnesota Vikings season preview video. Tell me what you think about this team down in the comment section. How many wins do you think they get? Who are some X factors, some games you're looking forward to watching them play? Love to have your thoughts, and I respond to every comment. So let's talk about Minnesota down below. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button. It really would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, it will help us get to 300 subs. We're very close to that. Maybe even hit it by the time this video is out. But anyways, hit that subscribe button. That would mean the world to me. But that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.